Revealed, the incredible transformation of a humiliated janitor who touched a boardroom of 12. Jake Thompson swept the floor of the gleaming boardroom with the same care he once gave to his paints. It was a world of polished oak tables and expensive chandeliers, far from the cramped apartment where he cared for his mother and little sister. Each night, Jake closed his eyes and could almost see the vibrant strokes of color on canvas, a calling drowned by bills and responsibilities. His 8-year-old sister, Emily, was the only one who recognized the talent hidden beneath the janitor's uniform. With her sketchbook clutched in her tiny hands, she filled the pages with dreams of stronger lines and bold shapes, echoing the artist he used to be. On this particular evening, chaos erupted throughout the corporate tower. Jake heard the hushed whispers swirling in the halls, tinged with panic, the kind of whispers that sent chills down his spine. A brewing scandal threatened to ripple through the glass doors of the high-powered executives. Jake's heart raced as he cleaned, the tension thickening the air around him. They scurried in and out, their faces twisted in worry, arrogance flaring amidst fear. It felt unfair, watching them breathe the same air he did while he was just a shadow cleaning up after their extravagant lives, but as he cleared the last crumbs from the conference table, he overheard snippets of their conversation. The doom they feared hung heavy, decisions loomed, and Jake realized he had stumbled upon something significant. The words echoed in his mind, the weight of his family's struggle tugging at his conscience. Should he betray his loyalty to the only job keeping them afloat, or should he risk everything to share what he knew? His chest tightened with doubt. What did he know about their world? Then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Chris, an old friend from high school, bright-eyed and brimming with ambition. The friendly banter rekindled memories of dreams not yet extinguished. They spoke of canvases and art shows, of big breaks and making it. Chris' unearthing of their long-forgotten aspirations struck something deep within Jake. "You can change your narrative, man," Chris implored, eyes wide with encouragement. "Don't let them box you in." Before he knew it, Jake felt the fraying thread of courage weave tighter around his heart. The urge to step forward grew. The boardroom was still chaos, he could see faces darting in anxiety, their focus lost. They were not infallible, not gods above him, but merely people grappling with fear. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Gathering every ounce of resolve, Jake stepped forward into the fray. He voiced his thoughts, his heart pounding as the room fell silent. They turned to him, startled. Eyes widened with surprise and curiosity rather than disdain. And then, with trembling hands, he pulled out the paintings he'd tucked away months before, pieces of his soul tucked in with rolls of paper towels. What they saw was a world of emotions, visceral and raw, the heartbreaking struggles he faced and the resilience that drove him. The board members shifted, their preconceived notions beginning to crack. Could they see him now, beyond the filthy uniform? Light flickered in their eyes, his artwork opening a door to understanding. As their expressions shifted, Jake wondered, could this moment transform not just his life, but could it chip away at the biases that held him back? Would the weight of societal judgment lift, revealing the artist he was meant to be amid all that he carried? The boardroom filled with an uneasy silence, yet a new energy pulsed through the room, setting the stage for a battle bigger than just a corporate scandal. Jake's breath hitched as he stood there, the weight of a lifetime of dreams laid bare in front of eyes that once saw him as nothing more than a janitor. The tension in the room was palpable. He could hear the faint rustle of suits and the soft murmur of uncertainty. A woman with sharp features and cold blue eyes, regarded as one of the top executives, took a step forward. Her voice cut through the silence. "What exactly are you trying to say, Jake?" The condescension in her tone dripped like poison. She looked down at him, her brows furrowed as if daring him to challenge her world. Jake's hands wavered, holding one of the canvases close to his chest. "These are my life's work. They reflect my struggles, my hopes. It's not just paint on a canvas, it's a part of me." He could feel a shift. Some of the men leaned in, intrigued, as if they were peeling back the layers of an onion. Was it possible for them to understand? A murmur rippled through the room as Jake continued, emboldened by the curiosity in their eyes. "You all talk about profits and losses like they mean everything. But each name on that balance sheet has a story behind it, just like these paintings." He pointed to a bright, chaotic swirl of colors. "This is how I feel every day, lost but fighting to find my way." A few heads nodded subtly, while others exchanged glances, their arrogance dimmed by the inkling of something more authentic. Chris, always supportive, moved closer to Jake, his presence a grounding force. "You have a voice, Jake. Use it." He placed a reassuring hand on Jake's shoulder, grounding him amidst the uncertainty. With a deep breath, Jake pushed the fear back and raised his voice. "What if I told you that understanding compassion can push your business further? You don't just sell products, you shape people's lives." His heart thrummed in his chest, a wild beat of hope battling against the doubt lingering in the corners of his mind. Suddenly, the blue-eyed executive stepped back, her expression softening, though she fought to hide it behind her businesslike demeanor. "That may be true, but how can you?" Before she could finish, the door swung open, and another executive, the one who had been going over the numbers, stormed in, panic written all over his face. "We need a plan, or we're going to implode. The press is circling like vultures." Jake's heart sank as the chatter resumed, the swirling atmosphere of fear capturing the boardroom's attention like a tempest. He realized the moment was slipping away. Here, showing his art, his heart, could be the bridge that connected their worlds. "You need vision," he called after them, desperation coating his voice. "You need perspective." As heads turned back to him, Jake understood this was a moment that could change everything, not just for him but maybe, just maybe, for them too. Could he help this motley crew of suits to see beyond their corporate shield? The lines between him and them began to blur. They were more alike than he'd been led to believe. And in that space, unthinkable connections sparked as eyes met, and amidst the tension came a flicker of something like empathy, but as quickly as the door swung open, another door loomed. A figure stood outside, a compelling presence casting a long shadow. Jake felt it deep in his gut, someone who could either offer him an unprecedented opportunity or threaten to crush what he had built in that brief moment of vulnerability. The boardroom held its breath, waiting for the next scene to unfold. Who was this newcomer, and would they push the tide of change Jake had just begun to navigate? The newcomer stepped into the room, and time seemed to freeze. Tall and confident, her entrance commanded immediate attention. Her dark hair framed a face that, unlike the cold executive Jake had just faced, radiated warmth. This was not just any face, it belonged to Evelyn, a former art consultant who had left the corporate world to pursue her passion for promoting artists from underrepresented communities. Jake's heart raced. "Evelyn," Chris whispered, his voice barely audible amidst the tension. Jake hadn't seen her in years, but the memory flooded back like a vivid painting. She had once scouted him at a street fair, appreciating his work and encouraging him to believe in its value. Back then, he was still scrubbing floors with paint-stained hands. Now, she looked at him as he stood before the boardroom, his artwork displayed like a declaration of hope. Evelyn scanned the room, her gaze softening as she locked eyes with Jake. "I heard about some commotion. Is everything all right?" The rigid atmosphere shifted. It was as if her presence dissolved the skepticism cluttering the air, making room for possibility. Her eyes danced across the canvases, which captured echoes of laughter and the weight of sorrow. She took a step closer to Jake, her expression a mix of pride and concern. "You brought your art here? In front of all these executives?" Jake nodded, trying to hold on to the thread of courage that still tethered him to the moment. Her support felt like a lifeline. I'm trying to show them there's more to business than just numbers." A flicker of recognition crossed her face, and she turned to the board. "What he's saying is essential. You see, art is often the voice of the unheard. It's how we connect and share the depth of human experience. Gradually, the executives began to shift. Some opened their mouths to respond, perhaps a protest, but Evelyn continued. And what do you think happens when people feel connected? They become loyal. A company that shows heart encourages its customers not just to buy, but to belong. The room filled with murmurs, as executives exchanged glances that hinted at an internal struggle against their instincts. Could they really lean into compassion, or was it simply a risk they were unwilling to take? Jake felt embers of hope spark within him. What I'm offering, he began, his voice regaining strength, is a chance to see beyond profits to understand impact. He pointed at the paintings again, his passion flowing like paint from a brush. These express pain, joy, struggle, and triumph. They're not just colors on a canvas, they represent every person who has ever walked into your stores. Evelyn took a breath, her eyes searched the room. And if you take a chance on him, take a chance on yourselves, this company could do more than survive, it could thrive. The media is watching, and they're hungry for stories that matter. Why not lead with your heart? Ambivalence hung in the air with every heartbeat. The executives faced a dilemma: remain hidden behind their corporate facades, or dig deeper into empathy and transparency. Just as murmurs rose to a crescendo, the tension shattered as the cold blue-eyed executive, nearly invisible until now, finally spoke up. Perhaps Jake's ideas are worth considering. But before she could elaborate, the door swung open again. This time, a cluster of journalists spilled into the room, their eyes alight with curiosity and excitement. Is there a revolution taking place in this boardroom? One shouted, camera poised. Jake's heart sank at the sudden chaos. This was the moment he had hoped for, yet now it felt like he was standing on a precipice. Would the executives embrace this newfound connection, or retreat with the swarm of questions that had just crashed in? Jake shared a glance with Evelyn, who nodded encouragement. But doubts swirled around him like smoke. Would his dreams be crushed by the weight of the moment, or would they ascend into something unimaginable? The boardroom buzzed, caught between fear and a call for hope. Would they embrace change, or would they choose the safer path? As Jake stood there, the air thick with uncertainty, he wondered, for the first time, if he could truly reshape not just one life but many. What was about to happen next could redefine everything. Would he be the artist ready to paint a new future, or would this slip away, forgotten in the shadows? The tension soared, and Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. All eyes were on him as the moment hung suspended. What ripple would he set in motion, and could he risk it all? The tension pulsed in the room as the journalists flooded in, their cameras flashing. Jake's pulse raced along with the beats of doubt echoing in his mind. He could feel the weight of all their gazes bearing down on him. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the fragile threads of hope he was trying to weave into a future for countless artists waiting in the shadows. Jake, can you tell us why your art is important in today's market? A reporter's voice cut through the commotion, demanding clarity amidst the chaos. He hesitated, the words dancing just out of reach. He had wanted to share his story of resilience, hope, and redemption, but now all he felt was vulnerability. This was the moment to step out from behind his nervous exterior and embrace the artist he had become. Still casting a glance to Evelyn, he drew strength from her unwavering presence. He inhaled deeply, feeling the support radiate between them like a warm current. It's important, he said slowly, gathering momentum, because art speaks to the soul. It tells our stories, the ones that often go unheard. When we walk into a store, we're not just looking for a product, we're searching for meaning. We want to feel connected. The murmurs from the executives grew louder, yet their faces remained tense, caught in a web of internal conflict. Evelyn chimed in, her voice strong. You see, we live in a world where connection matters more than ever. People are seeking brands that care, brands that listen. If this company chooses to embrace Jake's vision, it's not merely about profits, it's about weaving a tapestry of community and shared experience. Jake locked eyes with her, a swirl of emotion stirring inside him. He had never felt such empowerment before. Imagine a campaign, he continued, now pacing slightly, where your products are highlighted not just for their utility, but their connection to real stories. An artist's journey, a family's struggles, a community's triumph. Imagine creating a platform that invites your customers into the narrative. Suddenly, the blue-eyed executive, the one who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. But what happens if that narrative doesn't resonate with everyone? What if we alienate potential customers? Jake's heart raced, but he knew this was a pivotal moment. It's a risk, yes, but every reward comes with risk. You have to be brave enough to be vulnerable. The current will sweep you away if you don't ride it. A hushed silence washed over the room, thoughts fluttering like fragile leaves in a gust of wind. The executives exchanged glances, their faces reflecting that timeless struggle between safety and ambition. Then, a voice from the back spoke out, a young intern with a hesitant tone, "Isn't it better to try and fail than to never try at all? Maybe this is exactly what revitalizing your brand looks like." Jake's heart soared. That simple encouragement had ignited a spark. "Exactly," Evelyn said, her eyes lighting up. "Daring to be different is what makes a lasting impact. Look around, this moment is bigger than any of us. If you choose to blend art and business, your narrative will resonate with authenticity." For the first time, hope blossomed in Jake's chest. The executives were moving closer to a decision, the old guard waging war with new possibilities. Then, as if the universe unleashed its final twist, the lead journalist interrupted with a bright smile, "And what do you say, Jake? Will you paint this future for us?" He stood there, the weight of it all pressing heavy. This was his moment. Would he take the plunge, or would he falter under the fear of failure? As he opened his mouth to respond, filled with the swirling mix of hope and anxiety, the door swung open once more. This time, it was a familiar face from his old life, the janitor he used to admire on those weary nights. The room fell silent yet again. Jake's pulse drummed in his ears. This unexpected return of the past felt like the cue for something greater. He had faced his fears, but would he face the ghosts of yesteryears as well? "Jake, maybe now is the time for you to finally embrace who you've become." As the spotlight shifted toward him, he felt like the colors of his life were beginning to merge, creating a masterpiece that only he could complete. What would he say next could either shatter or elevate the world he had fought so hard to build. Would he step into the light, or revert to the shadows once more? Jake's throat felt tight. The familiar face from his past brought a rush of memories flooding back, long nights spent cleaning floors, dreaming of brighter days. The janitor's eyes, once filled with compassion and understanding, stared at him now, expecting something profound. "Mr. Landon." The lead journalist leaned in, curiosity etched on her brow. "What do you think about what Jake said?" The janitor, Mr. Landon, cleared his throat, the years weighing on his words. "Art is a language we all speak. It's never just been about beauty, it's about what it transforms us into. I've seen it. I've felt it. When a piece of art moves you, it connects us, reminds us we're all human." Jake's heart raced. Mr. Landon had been his silent mentor. All those nights, he'd watched the man's resilience, the way he found joy in simple tasks. It was as if he'd finally been given the permission to voice what had been echoing inside him all along. "Mr. Landon," Jake found his voice, I remember the talks we had over the years. I always believed I could be more, be better, if only I dared to embrace it." Mr. Landon nodded, a warm smile easing the weight in the room. "Just because you started as a janitor doesn't mean you can't rise as an artist. Remember, it's about the journey, not the title." The executives abruptly shifted in their seats, the energy in the room crackling with potential. Shadows of doubt began to lift, exposing something brighter beneath. Jake continued, emboldened by Mr. Landon's presence. "I want to paint my future. Not just for me, but for all the voices that deserve to be heard. I'm ready to paint that narrative for your brand, to dive into the stories that make us feel alive. As Jake spoke, the atmosphere changed. He could almost see the executives re-evaluating their stance, nodding ever so slightly, caught up in the surge of sincerity and ambition unfolding before them. "Are you certain?" one executive finally asked, his voice low but curious. "It's quite a leap." Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of endless nights of struggle transform into this moment. "It's a leap I'm willing to take. It's time to say yes to fear and embrace what makes us vulnerable." With each word, he felt lighter, freer, as if the chains of his past were being broken by the very proclamation of his future. He could imagine himself launching a campaign that turned heads and opened hearts, welcoming all to join a shared journey of artistry and authenticity. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. The room buzzed with anticipation as if the air itself crackled with possibility. Evelyn's eyes shone, reflecting both pride and trust. "Remember, Jake. It's okay to feel afraid, but it's not okay to let that fear claim your narrative." Just then, in a heartbeat, Jake realized how tethered he had been to doubt all the times he held himself back. "I've spent too long worrying about fitting in. I'll paint this future for anyone willing to step out of the safety of their shadows." As the words settled, anticipation mounted. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught Mr. Landon smiling proudly, knowing he had ignited a spark that could illuminate the darkest corners. The journalists murmured among themselves, the camera clicks a distant hum as they returned to focusing on Jake. They were transfixed, a story was unfolding before them. "Will you join me on this journey?" Jake proposed, his voice steady, his heart racing. "This is where we start crafting something special together." But just as he finished, a loud crash erupted from the hallway outside. The room went silent again, curiosity and concern mingling in the air. Jake's heart sank. What had interrupted this pivotal moment? Would this new development shatter the momentum he'd just built? The moment the crash echoed through the room, a chill slipped over Jake. He felt a line of sweat trickle down his back, breaking his concentration. The murmurs of the journalists turned to whispers laced with concern. "What was that?" Evelyn asked, her brow furrowed. "Let us find out." One of the executives rose from his seat, scanning the group before stepping toward the door. Jake's pulse quickened, uncertainty creeping in. He had just opened up about his dreams, and now it felt as if the universe was conspiring to snatch them away. He exchanged glances with Mr. Landon, whose presence steadied him, like an anchor in the shifting tides. "Maybe it wasn't anything," Jake waved off his own worries, forcing a smile, but deep down, anxiety twisted in his gut. But as the executive stepped into the hallway, the noise intensified. A flurry of voices erupted from outside, punctuated by shouts and a crash that reverberated off the walls. It was chaos, and Jake felt himself pulling inward, retreating into the safety of his past. "Stay here," the executive instructed, a determined look etched on his face, before disappearing through the door. The room felt smaller without him. Each second stretched painfully long as Jake's mind raced. What if they returned with bad news? What if everything fell apart? Mr. Landon leaned in closer, his voice calm. "You've come too far to let fear take over now. Remember what you were saying about embracing vulnerability?" Jake nodded, each word echoing with his earlier conviction. "I know, Evelyn placed a hand on his shoulder, a reassuring weight. "You're doing something incredible, Jake. They're listening. Don't let this moment slip away." Just then, the executive barreled back into the room, his expression a mix of urgency and confusion. "There's been a situation. An artist exhibiting a piece in the gallery just had a meltdown. They're asking for interviews and more cameras. It's chaotic out there." Jake's heart raced. This was the chance he hadn't anticipated, a way to channel the very emotions he had been speaking about. Can I go? I want to capture that energy. It's real. It's raw." Evelyn exchanged glances with the executive, an unspoken agreement passing between them. "Then let us do it," she finally said, determination flooding her voice. Let us see if we can weave this into your narrative. Jake felt a spark igniting within him again. Maybe this wasn't the chaos he feared, maybe it was an opportunity to illustrate the very struggles he wanted to amplify. He took a deep breath. I'm ready. With each step he took toward the door, heat surged through his veins. The crash, the madness, it all felt like fuel propelling him forward. As they stepped out into the hallway, the noise wrapped around him like a blanket, full of emotions that he yearned to portray. The scene unfolded before him. Artists and onlookers crowded around a chaotic installation, anxious murmurs punctuated by expressions of shock and passion. Jake could feel the juxtaposition of fear and thrill fluttering in his chest. This was the clash of human experience he wanted to explore. Before he could move deeper into the crowd, an intense figure stumbled out of the gallery, eyes wild, paint smeared across his face as if chaos had gifted him a new canvas. You understand. He shouted, locking eyes with Jake. You're not just here for the show, are you? You're here for the truth. Blinding clarity broke through Jake's mind. He would not just tell stories, he would live them. All at once, a moment of truth met him head-on. Would he risk exposing his emotions amid the confusion or retreat back into safety? The choice loomed like a canvas awaiting paint. And as the artist grabbed Jake's arm, a flash of understanding ignited between them. Show me what you can do. Jake's heart raced. Here was the moment. Would he seize it or let it slip through his fingers? The artist's grip was firm, electric, pulling Jake into a whirlwind of color and sound. He could barely process the chaos around him. Bodies jostled against each other, voices rose and fell, but all that noise faded into a heartbeat, a rhythm that matched the pounding of his own chest. I want to capture this, Jake stammered, trying to find his voice amidst the frenzy. The artist, still smeared with paint like a child lost in play, squinted at him. Capture it? He repeated, his breath heavy but steady. You mean live it? Don't just stand by, create. Jake felt a wave of exhilaration crash over him. This was it. He had spent so long holding himself back, fearing judgment and failure. But this moment, surrounded by the energy and chaos of the moment, felt like an awakening. He was ready to dive in, to immerse himself in the unpredictable art of life. Let us go. He shouted back, the words spilling out with newfound confidence. He pushed forward, pulling out his phone to document the raw emotion that surged through the crowd. Over here. Evelyn's voice cut through the ruckus, her arm raised high to catch Jake's attention. He turned to find her beckoning him toward the heart of the fray. Jake rushed to her side, a sense of urgency driving him forward. He watched as tears streamed down the artist's face, a symphony of distress and inspiration. It was beautiful and raw, moments crashing against each other like waves. Jake felt a surge of adrenaline. This was real art, not just the polished narratives he had been rehearsing. This is what you were meant to capture. Evelyn encouraged, her eyes alight with excitement. This is the vulnerability you were talking about. Jake nodded, feeling a smile break open on his face as he zoomed in, capturing the artist's expression as it flickered between despair and inspiration. Each click of the shutter felt like a discovery, a revelation, and the more he filmed, the more alive he felt. He was no longer the audience, he was inside the story. As he continued to document the masterpiece unfolding before him, he noticed little moments: an older woman stooping to comfort a heartbroken painter, or a young man holding his friend as he quaked with emotion. Life, in all its messiness, pulsed before him, begging to be understood and shared. Suddenly, the artist turned sharply, a fierce light in his eyes as he caught Jake's gaze. You see it, don't you? He shouted, his voice ringing above the din. This isn't just about the pieces of art, it's about connection. It's about breaking free. Jake felt the truth of those words echo within him. Each flicker of excitement built into a crescendo of urgency. He realized what he needed to do. This wasn't just about creating a narrative, it was about creating a movement. With each moment he captured, he was breaking down his own walls, and then, like lightning striking the ground, the chaos shifted again. Another shout rose above the rest, more insistent and frantic. "Help! Somebody help!" The crowd parted, revealing a young woman at the center. She had collapsed, paint splattered on her clothes, a canvas of confusion and fear on her face. The energy shifted from exuberance to panic. Jake's heart seized, and his camera lowered. This was a different kind of chaos. "Evelyn!" He called out, adrenaline pushing him forward. They had to do something. They couldn't just stand there, spectators in a play of life. He felt the weight of reality fold over him. As the crowd began to murmur, eyes wide with concern, Jake realized this was the moment where everything could shift. Would they band together, or would the fear break them apart? Stepping into the chaos, he took a deep breath. "Let us help her!" he shouted. In that instant, everything hung in balance. Would they come together to rise above the fear, or would it drown them? Jake could feel it in the air. The transformation wasn't just his, it was collective. It was time for vulnerability, time to take a stand. But would they have the courage to unleash the truth? A wave of uncertainty rippled through the crowd. Faces turned, eyes darted, but movement seemed stalled. Jake felt the weight of the moment close in on him, heavy and electric. The energy around him crackled, urging him to act, to ignite that spark of courage he sensed hidden in the crowd. "Come on!" he called out, more fervently this time, his voice slicing through the tension. "We need to help her. Don't wait. Just move." Evelyn was beside him, her brows furrowed with concern mingled with determination. "Jake's right. Let's make space. Someone check her pulse. Where's the medics?" She was rallying people, her voice clear and commanding. Slowly, as if waking from a daze, a few people began to step forward. A tall man with tattoos slid out from the crowd, kneeling next to the girl, ushering others to do the same. Like a wave pushing over sand, he brought movement back into the frozen scene. Jake felt his heart swell. This was it, this was how they would break free from their fear. The young woman lay there, her chest rising and falling slowly but steadily. She was still trapped within her own vivid chaos of colors, the paint on her clothes a strange testament to her creative spirit, now dulled by distress. Jake lowered himself down next to the man, capturing the scene, a collective humanity emerging from the panic, the confusion melting into resolve. "We need to keep her calm," the tattooed man said, looking into the girl's eyes. "You're all right. We've got you." Jake aimed his camera at the connection forming, the raw beauty of solidarity emerging under pressure. It wasn't just about the girl, it was about everyone here, united in the face of fear and uncertainty. A back and forth of support unfurled, hands reaching out to each other, voices rising in encouragement, whispers of compassion shared between strangers. "Help is on the way," one of the onlookers shouted, and relief flooded Jake. It didn't matter if he was filming or not, this moment transcended what he was trying to capture. This was not only about making a statement or creating art, it was about participating in a life-changing moment for someone who needed it. As the crowd began to breathe collectively, easing their concerns, a clear path emerged. Medics were arriving, and with them came the promise of safety. This was Jake's reminder. Such moments could shatter barriers and reshape the narrative. Maybe art was not only in the act of creation but also in the act of caring. "Look at how they're coming together," Evelyn said softly, nudging him in a moment of shared humanity. "It's beautiful." Jake nodded, heart racing with mounting hope as the medics took over. The young woman was now in capable hands, just as the artist had shared his fear and vulnerability. Life pulsed raw and unpredictable, and it had brought them all together, but even as they watched, he felt something shifting in himself. The outward chaos mirrored the struggle brewing inside him. Capturing art in a moment shared with others felt more significant than documenting his own journey. "Think we've done enough?" Jake asked, glancing back at Evelyn. "Not yet," she replied, looking toward the artist, who now stood silently, paint spattered and profoundly changed. "There's so much more to reveal. With that, Jake turned his lens toward the artist, feeling the atmosphere thrum with possibility. More stories awaited, unfolding threads that reached beyond this moment, linking them all in a tapestry of shared connections. What other truths would they discover together? What other transformations awaited in the vibrant chaos of the art world? Before he could ponder further, another voice broke through the din, echoing with intensity that sent shivers down his spine. You think this is just a scene? The artist stepped forward, his voice sharp and reflective. This isn't just a one-time event. It's just the beginning. Are you ready for what comes next? The moment hung in the air, charged and raw. Jake could feel the energy shift, like a tightrope swaying back and forth. The artist's gaze seemed to pierce through the crowd as he stood there, vibrant colors fading into the background. What do you mean it's just the beginning? Someone in the crowd called out, their voice quivering. A ripple of concern washed over faces, murmurs spread like wildfire. This wasn't merely a performance, it felt like a revelation was about to unfold. The artist stepped closer, and his expression evolved. Art isn't just what you see here. It's what we feel, what connects us. It's breathing life into our experiences, crafting meaning from chaos. He paused, letting his words sink in, and Jake could sense the collective intake of breath. Evelyn leaned in, her whisper urgent. What do you think he is talking about? I don't know, Jake replied, a mix of excitement and dread coursing through him. But it feels massive. The artist continued, his voice rising in conviction. This isn't just a street performance. It's a launch pad. Each of you is part of this narrative now. We're shifting perspectives, breaking barriers. It's happening right here, right now. Emotion surged through the people, some nodding, others sharing glances that ignited understanding. It felt like a storm brewing, hope and fear swirling together. Jake could hardly breathe, the weight of the moment pressing heavy against his chest. The tattooed man working with the young woman glanced up, eyes bright. That's true. We're part of something bigger. We helped her, didn't we? We made a difference. The crowd murmured in agreement, energy multiplying like a fire catching kindling. Jake lifted his camera instinctively, wanting to capture every flicker of realization spreading across their faces. You will see, the artist continued, a spark in his eyes. Transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It's collective. This moment will resonate beyond this street. His voice rang out, echoing a sense of urgency. Art can't just be confined to galleries and shows, it needs to breathe within us. A flash of understanding dimmed Jake's internal struggles. This was the point he had been searching for, art standing bold amidst chaos and connection. He dropped his camera, caught by the electric exchange unfolding around him. The air crackled wildly, saturated with emotion and possibility. A woman in the crowd cried out, but how do we start? What's our role? She clutched her friend's hand, searching for answers in an unpredictable tide. The artist bowed his head for a moment, gathering thoughts, and then looked up with resolve. Your stories. Your experiences. We'll channel them into art that speaks, transforms, and inspires. As he spoke, Jake glanced around. Broader smiles emerged, hands began to clasp and release in encouragement. A deep-rooted sense of community took hold, connecting the hearts of strangers in a web of shared passion. The crowd pulsed like it was tethered by more than just a shared experience. A movement was brewing. With urgency, the artist raised his arm and exclaimed, let this be a celebration. A movement born from this day, from this moment. We will harness what's happening here and show the world. Jake's heart raced. Something big was about to change, not just for the artist, not just for the girl, but for everyone present. This was a spark that could ignite a revolution. Are you ready? The artist asked, scanning the crowd, eyes fierce and unwavering. Ready. They shouted back, the single word swelling into a potent patchwork of commitment and courage. What would this transformation entail? How would they set the world alight with their collective stories? Jake felt a rush of adrenaline. You could almost taste the shift in the air. All eyes were glued to the artist, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. "Then let us begin," the artist shouted, as excitement exploded within the gathering, setting a fire in their hearts. The real question echoed in Jake's mind, a tantalizing uncertainty: what would be their first step in this journey together? Jake stood at the precipice of something monumental. The energy crackled around him, thick with possibility and hope. He took a deep breath and felt the encouragement of the crowd wash over him, mingling with the certainty that his life was on the verge of transformation. "Friends," the artist roared, enthusiasm spilling from his lips, "art isn't just a product. It's a way for us to connect, to heal. Our stories can resonate beyond these streets. We can start now." A wave of excitement rippled through the crowd, igniting buried passions, voices rising in a chorus of agreement. As they all gathered into a circle, Jake's heart soared. Here, each face mirrored the essence of humanity: joyful, struggling, triumphant. It was a tapestry of emotions waiting to unfold. He could see the tattooed man, now energized, nodding along enthusiastically. A previously timid woman stepped forward, eyes glistening. "Let us create a mural that tells our stories," she exclaimed. "Yes," responded another artist who had been part of the chaos, her fingers stained with paint. "But it needs to be filled with emotions, raw and real. Let us portray struggle and hope together." The crowd's energy swelled to a fever pitch, the atmosphere buzzing with determination. They began sharing ideas, laughter and fervor igniting with each suggestion. It was as if all the barriers were crumbling. Jake joined the fray, his voice steady and confident. "What if we host workshops, inviting local artists to share their stories? We can build a community together, a real community. This is the moment we've all longed for." A roar of applause erupted, echoing against the walls of the corporate tower. The executives, drawn back by the infectious energy, now faced a sea of passion they never anticipated. Their earlier doubts faded, washed away by this wave of resolve as they broke down their corporate facades, embracing the potential of something new. One executive took a step forward, hesitation replaced by a glimmer of enthusiasm. "We can provide resources connecting you all with the right platforms to amplify these stories. Let us figure out how to meet your visions." The tattooed man grinned and fist-bumped his friend. Others followed suit, a camaraderie blossoming among them. They were no longer separated by their pasts, they were united, ready to rise together. Tears of joy filled Jake's eyes as he looked around. How had he come from that cramped apartment, sweeping floors, to being surrounded by so much hope? This wasn't just a movement, it was a family forming before him. With renewed conviction, Jake took a step forward. "Let us dive into our journeys. Each of you brings something unique. Our struggles will fuel our art and invite more voices to join us. We're not just painting murals, we're rewriting the narrative for everyone who has ever felt unseen." The energy shifted again, a current of excitement palpable in the air. Evelyn stepped beside him, a radiant smile lighting her face. "Let us celebrate who we are. I will help you mobilize our network to gain support. But it needs to start from the heart, your heart." Their proposal echoed in every heart present. This was about art and connection, it was about the stories that shaped them and their community. Each voice, once silenced by doubt, now rang loudly in a torrent of vibrant enthusiasm. As Jake looked at the artist who had ignited this fire, he realized that this moment was a canvas awaiting color. No longer merely a janitor, he was an artist at heart, surrounded by a family of storytellers willing to share their lives. The first strokes of their new life would unfurl on a mural, a brilliant wave of emotion painted boldly across the surfaces of their lives. And they would do it together, with the sun setting in the background, casting a warm golden hue. They began their work. Brushes splashed with colors that spoke of laughter, tears, challenges, and triumph. A big seed of change had been planted in the community, transforming everything they once thought possible. As night fell, Jake felt lighter than ever. He could hear the laughter of children, the hum of creativity mixing with his newfound family. They were united in purpose, forging a future filled with hope, courage, and art. Jake realized this was only the beginning. And he was ready. So, are you ready? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this breathtaking ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through your actions.